Hello guys, this is Dice Graphics. Welcome to my new tutorial. So if you're new to this channel, click on the subscribe button and click on the notification bell to get notified anytime I release a new video. So I'm going to be showing you how to shade using the grayscale. So I've already laid down my base color on a new layer, and I'm trying to select a black color for trying to select a black color for the shading. And also before that, you after you've created a new layer which is above the base color, and we're going to be using gray as our base color, and we're going to be using the black color as our shade color, and white color as our for our highlights. So all you're going to be doing is select the airbrush, the soft airbrush, then follow according to what I am doing right now, and make sure the opacity is less than make sure your opacity is less than 50, or less or equals to 50. So it shouldn't be more than 50, and make sure you don't put more pressure on the brush. And before then, you can notice that my shadings are not going out of the the area I'm shading. So what I did was I selected the area I'm going to shade, which is the forehead. I used a selection tool, then I tap on the forehead, then went to the layer which is at the top of the base color layer, which is the shading layer, then selected my brush, then adjust the brush, then it will give you access um, to use to shade without going out of the area you're shading. So it will give you a clipping max effect. So I've done a separate tutorial in this same channel on how to select an area you want to shade, and select it and shade the area without the shadows going out of the area. So it's just like a clipping max effect, which is done. You can use any software to do this kind of um, method. So it's more um, good for professional works. It gives a clean job, like it doesn't allow you to do dirty works, because it will the area you're shading will be secured. It will not extend out of the area you're shading, to not go out of the boundaries. So it will just like um, select that specific place you're shading, so it gives a very nice work. So as you can see, I'm checking the reference by the side, and I'm following exactly what is on the reference. So that's what you should do when you have a bigger device, or when you're shading, you are working with an iPad or PC. You can split the screen, or you can um, use an app called Visrep. I don't know whether I pronounce it well. Visrep is used for placing images at the top of your software, so you can put several images. You can use several images and references. You can compile them in one place. So it's mainly serves for artists. The main purpose of Visrev is for artists, so it helps artists to compile images. Most of the times, those artists who are into character designing and concept art, so it helps to compile images in one place, so that to have an easy workflow. So as you can see, I'm following exactly what is on the picture. Just follow according to how the shadow was placed. So you don't be afraid to zoom in and zoom out to see how how it's turning out. And make sure your reference is on black and white so as to give you that three colors, that black, gray and white. So that's actually what our aim is, having our photos on monochrome. Monochrome is a black and white filter. You can get it in on any phone, both Android, or you can also get it on your iPad. You can also get a monochrome on your laptop, PC editor. So you can just transform the photo into a monochrome. After you're done with that, after we're done with this particular tutorial on how to shade, then you can still restore the color back. You can still restore the initial color of the photo. So the reason why I advise beginners to, or amateurs to, use references that are black and white is because for them to like not get carried away with the colors, and for them to just focus on the values and to paint the values, and it helps you to concentrate on just black and white simple colors, and helps you to learn how to shade very easily. So if this it was a colored reference, it would have been very difficult for you to figure out where the shadows are sometimes. So it will be very hard for you to differentiate where the shadows and the highlights are placed. But for a black and white reference, it's going to show you, literally it's going to show you where they are placed. So it's just going to show you where they are placed, and there are no multiple colors on the reference. It's just going to be showing you a three-dimensional color, which is the black, the white and the gray. So that is the number one reason why I advise beginners or amateur to like focus to like use, because it helps, and it gives a fast workflow. It helps you to concentrate on values, and also it helps you to work faster without getting distracted with colors and the rest. So after doing this particular painting on grayscale, I'm going to be showing you how to convert the grayscale into a colored painting. So I just want you presently to just focus on how to shade and bring out those shadows from the photo. Then later you can apply your colors, your skin colors on the painting. So just keep on applying the shadows using your airbrush. You can increase the size of the airbrush and decrease the size of the airbrush. Depends on the particular area that you are shading. So you can also be reducing the opacity. So I don't have any fixed settings for both the opacity and the size, because the workflow is I don't have like a specific settings for my brushes because of the workflow. It changes with time because of the areas I'm going to shade. The opacity I'm going to be using for the top of the nose or the eyes or the neck is totally different from the one I'm going to be using for the clothes and for the cheek and the rest. So that's the reason why I don't have a specific brush settings or size for my painting. So you can just adjust it anyhow you want it, and also you can clean, erase and still repaint. So digital art gives us more control of our work, more than the traditional art. So that's one of the reasons why I prefer digital art to a traditional art. It gives you more control on your workflow, and you can change anything anytime you want. You can change whatever you want during your workflow. So it gives you more strength and more power It gives you more control for on your work, so you can do anything you want with it. So just keep on tweaking the brushes and and do whatever you like. Just make sure you have fun with the brushes and make sure you have fun while painting. Just the only thing you're going to be doing is just replacing whatever you see on the reference. Just replacing whatever you see on the reference, and you're good to go. And when you think the shadows, most especially now, the shadows on the nose are too thick, you can still clean them up, or you can just reduce opacity of that particular place, and then you continue. You can still leave it when you're coming to apply colors. You can still readjust, so it's not bad. You can still readjust, it's not too late for that. So well, you can still clean up if you think the black colors are too thick on the area of the nose. So I would advise you, when you're watching this tutorial, try and look for simple references to practice with, and with that you can easily learn and understand how to use black and white grayscale painting, how to paint on grayscale paint. It will help you so much to understand value. And also, if you want to get a clean a clean and also a perfect, it mustn't be perfect though, but if you want to get like a clean workflow and also a close to a perfect painting, all you need to do is just keep on um, creating a new layer for your shading layer. Then you, after you're done shading, for instance, if you're shading the cheek area, you can create a new layer for the cheek alone. So after you're done shading the cheek, you can merge the layer together with the rest of the shadings that you've done. So if you want to shade the lip, I would advise you to make sure the area of the lip should be separate from the area of the entire head. So you can just separate the shading layer for the head alone, and also leave the shade separate the shading layer of the lip from the head, and separate the shading layer from the clothes and the head, from the clothes to the head. So you just try and separate the layers, not split the layers. Make sure every section of the body, every part of the body has its own layer. So after you're done with shading, you can match them up, just to have a very easy workflow, and also to have a very easy way to avoid mistake. For instance, now if you have mistakes with the shading of the nose, and you've already merged the layers together, you've already been shading the layers together with that of the cheek and that of the eyes and the rest, so it will be very difficult for you sometimes to clean it, to erase that particular section, because it may affect the shading of the eyes and of the mouth. So that's why it's very advisable, while shading, you just create a new layer. After you're done shading that particular area, then you um merge it up with the one below it. You can merge it down with that of the cheek, or that of the neck, or that of the other parts of the body that you've already shaded. So that's one of the trick I'm going to be sharing with you. And also, when you're done with the entire shading of the face, you can also create a separate layer. Make sure you don't merge it together with the layer of the shading of the clothes, the layer of the shading of the cloth and the hat. Make sure the layers are separate, and make sure the layer of the head, a shading of the head and the body is different from the layer of the shading of the hands and the head is separate from that of the uh, body, that which is that of the shirt the person is wearing, and that of the hat. So you can shade, you can make the layer for the shading of the hat or the cap, just in case if the person is wearing a cap. So you can you can make the layer for the cap and for the clothes and for the shirt or trouser or skirt. You can make those layers um, be in the same place. Then you can make the layer for the skin shading, or let's say the face, the skin, that's the face, the body shading, which is the hand, the skin, and the head, and the feet and the hands should be on a separate layer. So by doing that, you can just by doing that you can avoid mistake, and also you can have um, a clean workflow. And also, when you're applying the white color, base color to the teeth, you can also make the white base color to be on a separate layer, so as to have access to the select so that to make the select tool more easier to use on the teeth while shading the teeth. So you can just make the white of the teeth, the color base color of the teeth, which is white, on a separate layer. After you're done with that, you can match them together with the base color of the skin color, which is of the head, which is the gray color. So I just hope you understand all that I'm saying. I just hope you understand. So just concentrate on what I'm saying and concentrate on what I'm doing on the screen. So that's actually how to improve your workflow, and also how to get a neat workflow. So if you look closely to the reference towards the shoulder, you can see that there is a very hard shadow over there, which is by the side of the shoulder. So all we're going to be doing is let's try using the felt pen tool. To I'm creating a new layer. So make sure you just use the felt pen tool. You can reduce up, you can leave the opacity to 100, and then you can just follow according to what is there. Just make sure you reduce opacity, you leave the opacity to 100, then you apply the felt pen tool and make sure you paint it according to what is there, and make sure that the color you're using for the dark shadow is a black color. So after you're done putting or painting the area which is having a hard dark shadow, all you need to do is just to reduce the opacity of that particular area you've already applied the dark shadow to. You can just reduce the opacity after you're done applying it. Just reduce the opacity to maybe 50 or 40. It depends on the intensity of the dark shadow. So if the dark shadow is too much, you can leave it at 100, or you can just adjust it to 80, so it can still maintain darkness. But if the shadow is slightly dark, it doesn't have that intensity, so you can just shift it to half of 100, which is 50, or you can also scale it down to 30 or 40. It depends on what kind of work you're doing. So make sure it's in a new layer. Make sure it's on a new layer. Make sure it's not merged together with the shading layer. Make sure it's on a separate layer, so that when you're converting the shading into the grayscale shading into a colored one, you can still convert the hard shadow into a colored one. So after you're done applying, you can just reduce it to 50 or any number you would want. So but I would advise you, if it's not having an intense darkness, you can scale it down to 30 or 20. So it depends on the workflow, your work, the type of work. So it all depends on your work. So remember earlier on I was talking about using separate layers for different parts of the reference. So presently now I've created a new layer for the lip, so I'm using a totally different layer for the lip, so as to have a clean workflow. It saves you from cleaning the entire work when you make mistakes. It saves your time, and it gives you a nice a nice and clean painting. So just try creating a new layer than using the same layer you used for the face to use for the lip. And also when you're converting the grayscale painting into color painting, it seems very easy. It becomes very easy for you to use when you're having the layers differently, when you're having separate layers for different parts of the body, of the different parts of the references, of the reference, sorry. So, and also when you're shading, you can also simply drag using your smudge tool. You can blend, you can drag the colors using your smudge brush tool. You can also use the hairbrush for dragging and also for blending the colors. So I've done several tutorials on how to blend and how to drag the colors. I've done applied it on several of my tutorials, so it's not a new thing. So you can just keep on shading on a new layer. You can also use multiple layers, and you can merge it as far as you're merging it on a lip layer, not on a different layer. You can split the layers into two. You can just play around with the shading, but make sure you're having a particular layer for the lip, not different layer. So you can just match the layers after you're done with the work. You can match the layers, but make sure it's advisable to leave a separate layer for the lip. Don't merge it together with that of the shading of the skin and that of the shading of the clothes and that of the shading of the glasses. So it should just be on a separate layer so as to have more control on your workflow. So you can use the felt pen tool again to fill up the base color for the shirt and the base color for the glasses and the rest of the stuff. So, and make sure the felt pen tool is at 100% just to get that solid color. Don't forget to make the layers on a separate layer. Just make them different from each other, separate them into different layers just to have control of your workflow. So it's very, very important. So now let's talk about the value painting. Value painting, which is a combination of black, gray, and white. This is a combination of black, gray, and white. You can practically be categorized by using just just the color black and white color, but and we use the base color, which is gray, which is a combination of white and black, white and black, which is gray. You can use your felt pen tool, or you can use your color builder. As you can see, I'm just placing the color. Make sure the opacity is low as 50 or lower than 50, and just place the color. It mustn't be always the airbrush. You can use your color builder to place the color and use your smudge brush to blend them up. But it's also much more easier to use your airbrush. It gives you control on the details, every details you're doing on your reference. So when you're using a color builder and you're not careful on where you place the shadows, you may misplace the areas you're placing the colors you're placing your colors on. So that's why I prefer using the airbrush. It gives you a specified opacity and also control on the details you're applying, the shadows you're applying on the reference. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye.